Anyways, so this is Jetpack Swords. Look at me remembering to introduce the show right off the bat. I'm so smart. This is Jetpack Swords, a super cool casual game podcast. I'm Greg. I'm joined by James and Packy. And we are going to talk about Gamescom 2023, specifically the opening night, because that was like last night, night and a half ago. I don't know if I can remember. It's in Europe, so like time zones are all different anyways on top of it. But yeah, so Gamescom 2023. James, you mentioned you had, was it five pages of notes?
4.
And so before I hand it over to you, I also know you mentioned you just, looked at summaries and watched trailers after the fact. I watched it just on a little like 1.25 speed on my phone at work today, so I didn't get a chance to take like great notes. But there was one thing that you probably didn't see, which was just kind of funny and also sad and upsetting, was at the very beginning of the show, someone came on stage and
I saw it.
You saw it?
Yep.
Dude, it's just so upsetting.
I don't know why they didn't have the stage was literally two or three single steps up from the ground floor, and all the chairs were just right there at the stage. They didn't have anybody, there was no barrier to the stage to stop people. You think they would have learned from the last time?
From every event in history.
Yeah.
Wait, someone is over eager. James, I mean, you go ahead. Take it away.
For that specifically or for whatever? Anything.
Start with that to answer Packy's question and then go from there.
I don't even remember which thing it was. I mean, it was right at the beginning, but it was right before the Todd Howard thing, right before he came out.
Yes. Yes.
I think it was two guys came up and got on the stage immediately and started trying to talk into the mic. And I think they were saying something about GTA 6 or some bullshit.
That's exactly it. They're just like, I want a GTA 6.
And I feel like security was really slow to get them off. I feel like there should have been something stopping them from getting up there. But yeah, just like two random people got up on the stage and started talking into the microphone. And I feel like stuff like that's just going to keep getting worse because they're not really doing anything about it.
Yeah. And I mean, Jeff Keighley handled it like a champ, right?
Yeah,
he was like, that's so, he's just like, that's really disrespectful to everybody who worked really hard to like have something to show off here and stuff and it's just like he handled it really greatly and then, moved on to Todd Howard to talk about Starfield. But yeah, that was at the beginning of the show. I'll probably post a link to at least the video I watched because it has chapters, which is nice, and it has its own chapter there, and it's 5 minutes and 50 seconds in the link to the video that I will probably post in this episode's description if you are curious. Anyways, James, begin on your, exploration. I don't know, your notes.
I spent 2 hours this morning. I didn't even realize it was 2 hours. I got back from the gym and was just like, I'm going to do this real quick while I'm home. And then I looked down at the clock and it had been an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I was like, what the fuck? Also, before I get into the stuff from what I watched earlier, I just saw that a new Command & Conquer game got announced, and it's a fucking mobile game, and I'm so upset.
Are you surprised?
I'm not, but I still have the shred of hope every
so
time I see any Command & Conquer news. I looked at it, and I literally did a double take. I was like, Command & Conquer? What? And it's a mobile game, and I don't care. I'm never getting anything I want ever again.
Well, and I think the reason that's also disappointing is because, actually, one of the things that was at the showcase, actually, there were 2 RTSs at the showcase. And I'm sure we'll get to them. But yeah.
Right, was the other one?
And then Age of Empires 4, which is kind of cheating
because
it already exists. But
that's already out.
Yeah, and they were just saying, oh, hey, it's on Xbox now, is all they were saying. AoE 4 to finish. But yeah, I mean, there's a brand new RTS that's going to be I'm assuming not a mobile game. And so I don't know, it feels like they could make a Command & Conquer game, but they hate you. They personally hate James. They have a picture of you on their wall of the studio and say, fuck this guy, we're not going to make anything for him.
Yeah, no, I'm cursed with technology and games also. But yeah, I'll dive into my stuff. This is in no order. I literally just got on IGN / other gaming sites and just scrolled down and tried to see what I could see that I didn't already know about. So Call of Duty was the first thing because that's obviously a huge big budget franchise. That was their cover story stuff. Did you guys watch the Modern Warfare 3 gameplay campaign reveal?
I did.
Greg, I'm sure you
didn't. I'm assuming, Packy, your answer is no.
Yeah, which is fair.
I haven't watched any of it.
So, I have been playing Call of Duty a long time. obviously. Since Call of Duty 2, I think, was my first one. And I have loved and hated different ones. I enjoyed the 2019 Modern Warfare. I felt it was a really good looking game, ran really well, was like a good keeping with what Call of Duty is, but still like added new stuff. Gunsmith was really cool if you're like into that, having like cool creative class systems and whatever. I thought Modern Warfare 2 was honestly pretty disappointing. I was not crazy about it. It was fine, but like not really good. And yeah, Modern Warfare 3, at least for like the campaign level reveal they did, it just looks really boring. Maybe I'm just like aged out of Call of Duty at this point or something, but like it didn't look impressive. And I feel like Call of Duty showcases are usually always like very set PC and we all know what they are, right? They're the most like just pure entertainment value over anything else as far as like gaming goes. Just big high budget set piece games, whether that's the multiplayer or the single player. The mission they showed, I want to say, is actually originally from Call of Duty 2, Modern Warfare 2, the original one, where I don't know if it's actually what they're doing, but it's what it looks like. It's where they break Captain Price out of the like Russian prison or whatever. And yeah, it like looks good, but it looks as good as Modern Warfare 2 / Modern Warfare did. Didn't really show anything new gameplay wise at all. And I feel like usually the campaigns show like showcases for some of the new features that they then poured over to multiplayer. Yeah. Of course.
Well,
it just go ahead.
So I was going to say they did show something new about campaign, but it's not the shared thing that is the new thing in the game, right? Like it's not like the water mechanics or like any of that. It was the like new style of campaign missions.
To be fair, they've had that before.
It just wasn't part of the campaign, I thought, right?
No, it was. Black Ops 2, which is still by far my favorite, other than Infinite Warfare. Black Ops 2 is my favorite Call of Duty campaign because it was actually different. It had branching storylines and like endings, different things would happen. And then Black Ops 2 also had some like vaguely open, also kind of like RTS style missions. I didn't specifically watch the open combat mission or whatever like style that they're calling it Modern Warfare 3, but it's not new. They've had things just like that before, or at least similar things before. It's only new maybe for specifically Sledgehammer and specifically Modern Warfare, but it's not like new. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, when I watched it, which yes, thank you for saying the name. I couldn't remember it. Yeah, they're calling it open combat missions. And it's basically just like, I think they're going to be inserted into the campaign. It's not every mission. And the idea is basically you get more flexibility to play the way you want to play, right? Yeah. So like, if you want to do stealthy, great. If you want to like, they did mention kill streaks. That'll be interesting, right? Like kill streaks in the campaign, that could be fun. Because, like the AC-130 missions are always a blast. So open combat missions. And then what they reminded me of, honestly, was the PvE in Modern Warfare 2 that's not the campaign. That I cannot remember what they're fucking called. And I think they're probably called Spec Ops. It's probably what it is. It's definitely what they were called in past games, right? Yeah. That's what it reminded me of. It's just like, let's take this thing that we are already doing and let's just shove it in the middle of the fucking campaign, right? And so I don't know. That'll be interesting.
Black Ops 2 already had it, and that was Treyarch, and that was when did Black Ops 2 come out? Like 20, I don't even know, 13 or something. It's not. I don't know. I think it's also
speaking of pulling from Treyarch.
Oh yeah, they're bringing zombies back too. Which again, they said it's supposed to be the biggest, most open one they've ever done. I don't really care anymore. Call of Duty's not going the direction I want, but I also could not articulate exactly what I want. But Black Ops 2 was in the right direction from back when that came out, and I really, really enjoyed the Infinite Warfare campaign specifically. I think that's just specific to me liking like aerospace and like space in general. So, right, do you want to talk more on the zombie stuff? I didn't look into it a lot, but I know it's big.
I didn't really look into it at all. All I know is that I believe it's supposed to be the first one set in the Modern Warfare universe.
Oh, great.
Whatever the fuck that means. In some ways, it's probably good because, quite frankly, like the Treyarch zombies at this point are just so fucking out there.
Yeah, but I think that's fine for like having this side content thing. I think it's fine that it's a mess of a plot line.
Can I get some of that, but then also just like shove me in the fucking movie theater and let me murder zombies at the same, like, like I don't know,
I
like
yeah, I don't know. I
the-
don't. I'm always
I don't like
curious.
the new complicated stuff. I like the old simple let me kite in a circle. And admittedly it gets boring, but like
I like the
I don't
complicated
want to
because it
have to
gives you so much
Google
more
the
replay stuff too. Easter
yeah,
eggs and
that's
secrets
probably
and
true.
different like run types, and I always like. I was gonna say I think two things. One, I think it's interesting that from what I saw, this is Sledgehammer, even though it's a Infinity Ward like their property. Infinity Ward usually
Which
does.
also it was something of just note, sorry to interrupt, but
You're fine.
on that note, I mean, we should call out that like is this the first time they've ever done, or at least the first time in like 10 years that they've ever done a direct sequel the immediate year after?
I think it is for the immediate year. Yeah,
Yeah, which is like I have to ask myself, when did they find out that they were making Modern Warfare 3? Like
I don't know. Like I said, it's weird that it's Sledgehammer because so for anybody who doesn't
yeah,
know, there were originally two studios that made Call of Duty, or I guess one originally, and then we got two, and then we got three, and usually they alternate. So like Treyarch will do 1 year, and Infinity Ward will do one, and then Sledgehammer does the next, and they just go in a cycle like that. That way, like the Call of Duty games individually have a good amount of dev time to actually make them, and they're not just like they're still a yearly release, but they're not. They don't have the quality of a yearly release usually, because each studio gets 2 to 3 years, if not more, to like actually put out a product. And it keeps things fresh on paper at least because they're all Call of Duty, obviously, but they're all like different in their styles. Like I've come to really like Treyarch's entries for the most part for a while now. Although I didn't like Cold War or I don't know. It's been a while since I've really cared about Call of Duty. Let's be honest, but still, they're all different.
I think we're
Um,
both in the same spot of like we've played so much of it that like we like it, but also we're just
I mean, yeah,
meh.
like I
Like
played. I think it was Vanguard, the last World War II one that came out. I think that was Vanguard. Me and Jacob would just play multiplayer. Like I didn't even play the campaign, and I always play every Call of Duty campaign if I can, but I haven't done that in like 3 or 4 games. Even though that one's like World War II and should be really cool. But yeah, we played like a ton of the multiplayer, and it was a god awful, buggy, just like blinding effects in your face. Like it was not good, but it was very stimulating as just a like you're gonna play this and not think about anything else, and it's gonna be fun in like a really
that's
stupid way.
yeah.
Especially when you play like the 24/7 only small maps of some kind, and it's just you spawn, kill one person, die, spawn, kill one person, die for the entire 15 minutes of the match. It's terrible, but it's also like the perfect just pushes neurotransmitter buttons in your brain constantly. So like it's fine.
Well, and like I think there's a lot to be said about just short games like COD in general, whether that be COD or Battlefield or actually arguably not Battlefield. Battlefield games going to be longer, or like or Halo or anything that's like I hop in, it's 10 minutes, and I'm done.
Yeah,
And like I can quit any of those 10 minutes. There's no time commitment.
yep,
It's just hop in, let me press some buttons, get that little bit of fucking serotonin or dopamine. I don't fucking know. I didn't study brain chemistry. One of those chemicals, and then you're done. Right. And there's something to be said about that, right? Like they have those games will always have their place.
for sure. And like they still have that place. I feel like I don't know. They're playing it too safe. And again, on one hand, I know why because when they play it safe, they still make a ton of money, just like the Pokemon company making their games and everything. But then on the other hand, like I don't want them to play it safe because they're stale. I don't know. I know they're always going to have an audience, and it doesn't
Well,
matter.
and they're set up to not. They're set up to play it safe once or 2 out of 3 years, and then the third year they should not play it safe, right? Like
Sure.
they're perfectly set up to do that. And so yeah, it's kind of sad with that they're literally just making a direct sequel. And quite frankly, the last one wasn't, like you said, it wasn't particularly
I
great. Like I
yeah.
remember we were very excited about it, and then it came out and it fell flat,
Yeah.
right? So
My
I don't know,
playtime
it is
of
disappointing.
my playtime of Modern Warfare 2019 versus Modern Warfare 2 is like I played way more Modern Warfare than I did Modern Warfare 2. I like burned out on so quick. I was
Same.
just like I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I didn't even play the campaign of Modern Warfare 2. They started to get to a point where they were like too aggressively American centric, which I know Call of Duty's always been just like a America can do no wrong. Like I know that's always been how it has been, but like it was almost too blatant even for me in the current run of games. I don't know. It was weird. It felt too propagandy, which I know is like again stupid, but I don't know. Yeah, that's all I had on that. Next would be Starfield is the next thing that I watched, which was obviously Todd Howard's quick little interview he did with Jeff Keighley, which they didn't really show anything new from what I saw. They talked about some new stuff, but they didn't really show anything new. They had the live action trailer come out, which I'll be honest, I don't like live action trailers. I think the money for that could have gone to something else. The only ones I've ever like truly liked were the old Halo Landfall like ad campaign, which was supposed to be the Halo movie, and then just became the ad campaign because the movie died. Right, Landfall, fantastic, great, super super good, and that's also from like what 2007. So whatever. I mean, it looked like a pretty good like high production value live action trailer, but like we didn't like I didn't need that, so I don't know.
It's pretty funny actually, just as a whole. Like Microsoft's marketing department is in like full swing at the moment.
Yeah,
because like. Obviously Starfield, right? Like it's in full swing for Starfield. But then even aside from that, like I'm pretty sure they had 2 or 3 different ad spots in the middle of Gamescom. I think one for PC Game Pass specifically and one for just probably Game Pass as a whole or some shit, right? Yeah, their marketing department's in full fucking swing. Like
they got all this stuff in the background with their still like trying to get that acquisition of Blizzard Activision. So like I don't know.
Maybe we won't have to pay for Modern Warfare 3.
I mean, there's literally something on IGN right now that says Phil Spencer on potentially bringing Call of Duty and other Activision Blizzard games to Game Pass. And I'm sure if I click it, it's gonna say something stupid. But the one line that I liked from the Todd Howard talk, which his was really brief. It wasn't a crazy big like showcase or anything at all, but he specifically said that I like the line that he said was like NASA meets Indiana Jones for Starfield, specifically talking about the organization known as Constellation within Starfield, which is like the like main protagonist organization. They're artifact hunters in that setting, and like your character gets to join them very early on, like right after the opening. But I thought that was just a cool thing. And then I know they had like an article describing the opening mission, but they did not have like a video of it or anything. It sounds like classic Bethesda stuff where you're dropped into an area, you do some quick stuff. It's got the classic like exiting a location to get the like blinding sun effect that they always have. Fallout has it when you leave the vault anytime. And then every Elder Scrolls game, you always start as a prisoner. And so when you leave the jail in whatever context that is, there's always that same kind of thing. When you first see the world for the first time.
Insert meme.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's cool. I mean, you all know how I feel about Starfield. I've talked about it plenty across our multiple episodes. I'm very excited. I can't wait for 2 weeks from now, I think is when it officially drops roughly. So yeah, very excited.
One Starfield note that's tangentially related and not directly related to Gamescom is Microsoft is, speaking of marketing department being in full fucking swing. They're releasing their own skins for the series. Actually, they're not skins, which is why they're cool, right? So like console skins have been a thing for a long time, like basically stickers that you put on and look cool. They're releasing, I don't know what they're calling them, sleeves, something, I don't know.
Wraps,
but they're
I think
like
is what it said.
Yeah, and they're like kind of thickish. They it looks like possibly fabric, but basically they have like a magnetic clasp in the back around the console. They look very nice, and the Starfield one looks very nice. In particular, obviously, which is why I thought of it. $50 is fucking absurd, though, and they can shove that up their ass.
Have you guys ever done one of those like sticker wraps or anything on a console before? I think when I was a kid,
the closest obviously is the Mountain Dew one.
I think when I was a kid, our family tried it because it was 3 teenage boys, and we were all like, "Oh, let's get something cool." And I remember it being a process with the one we got, just because it was like actually a sticker. So if you got it on wrong, it wouldn't like stick right. So if it is a like fabric sleeve, that's much easier to put on and take off. And they're like actually first party, like real ones, not made by some other company. I 50's a lot, but I could see it.
Yeah, it's a lot. They look really nice. Anyways, Packy, I saw you unmute your mic. Did you have something to?
No, it seemed more like a. I'd never once bought these. I'm surprised they're even taking a second go at it. I'm surprised they sold well. I only ever had the gears, like when they come pre-attached when you get it.
Yeah.
Because
It's
yeah,
like I
otherwise
had
it's
the
just a big
Well,
Destiny
plastic.
and the
Warheads right
interesting
there.
thing is, I think them doing this means they're probably never going to do a special edition console again, or at least like
Oh,
it's going
maybe.
to be very rare, like exceptionally rare. I think they're just going to make a sleeve and it be a first party sleeve and it looks really nice and it has this magnetic clasp on it. And I think they're probably just going to do that. They might do special edition consoles like very rarely, but I think it's going to be way less. It's already less common than it was like 4 years ago, but I think it's going to be even less common now with these coming out.
Yeah,
But
I
that's
can see
enough of
that.
that tangent. Let's
Um,
get back to your Gamescom.
Next one on the list that I saw was the RoboCop game. It's called RoboCop Rogue City. And I looked it up because I was curious to see who the dev was because I couldn't remember. It's Teon, I guess is how you say it. And they are the ones that made Terminator Resistance, which is a like co-op shooter Terminator game, which I heard was actually pretty good for being like a licensed, especially a Terminator licensed game in like our current era. Out of place a little bit, but it was apparently pretty good. I watched the bulk of the 16 minutes of gameplay they put out. It looked very stiff and not bad, just not the production value of something I expect from something that comes out now. But
Yeah,
it looked interesting in the sense that it's a RoboCop game, and there's not really a lot of those, and it looked like it was stylistically trying to be like that franchise. I guess I don't know. Interesting, if nothing else. Um, Next thing I watched was the Mortal Kombat 1, some of the information they put out for that, which I don't know how much Mortal Kombat you guys have played, but I've played a decent amount over my life. And one thing that Mortal Kombat's always had is a like Easter egg, cosmetics, whatever extra thing that's called the crypt, where you like move around an area or along like a static like track, and it's kind of like what like a season pass would kind of be like, where you get like cosmetics and stuff over time, currency, whatever, but it was never a season pass thing. It was always just built into the game by default, and they were always full of Easter eggs and like cool little just like references, and you would get skins for your characters and stuff like that, right? And they've had that, I think it said, since 2002, which sounds about right from what I remember. Because like every Mortal Kombat game I've played has always had it. But they're getting rid of the crypt for Mortal Kombat 1, which is a timeline and story reset of that franchise, and it's getting something called invasions, which are much more board game like in the sense that like you start at like a beginning node and then you progress through like an actual board, and each little node will give you like a different, again, like they have ideally it's going to give you like a different cosmetic or more currency for the game and stuff like that. But Mortal Kombat games also usually have like another side mode where you can progress through like a ladder of fighters, right, or like do different stages, but there'll be different effects that like happen on them, and they're always like
yeah. The
way out there.
tower, I think, is normally what
Yeah,
they
so the
call it,
last
right?
game had Towers of Time, where you would progress through like a ladder of stages, but they would all have different effects. So like maybe on this one, like missiles are constantly targeting your character. You know, they do damage when they hit you, or like cause your character to freeze or whatever. So you have to like dodge them while you're also doing the fight. Or there'll be like different zones that do different things. So just stuff like that. The invasions mode combines that concept with the crypt. So like each node is a different stage as you progress across this board, and then you get, like I said, like all the different cosmetics and stuff. So it's just interesting, one, that they're getting rid of a like very classic mode at this point, but also like expanding on it to do something else with it. And this, they've also said that it seems like this is how they're going to do their version of seasons. So like each invasion like board is going to tell a different story within the like world. The one that's going to come out with the game's launch is about Scorpion and like his story, especially within like the current storyline reset that game's like whole plot is about. And then like they'll do another one, I'm sure, down the line with like other stuff, you know, whatever. But I thought it was just cool that, one, they're getting rid of it, but like turning it into this new thing. And I think it's kind of a cool idea for like a story season content. I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah.
Before I keep moving on, does anybody else want to say anything? Because I can keep going too on just like my list of stuff.
Let's see. I'll interject one here randomly. The fuck is Zack Snyder doing?
Oh, I don't know.
Rebel
Movies
Moon
or something? Yeah, I don't know.
but it's so he's got a new Netflix movie called Rebel Moon. I think he described it as shit. I don't remember exactly what he described it as.
It's,
I know one of the things
quote,
was like
Star
my
Wars
Star
with sex,
Wars.
violence, and swearing is exactly what it says.
Okay, so
Which is not what I want from Star Wars.
Yeah, and so that's fucking interesting. And you know the reason he's at Gamescom is that apparently, you know, he's making the biggest, most ambitious space RPG to go along with it in the same universe. So
Sure.
I don't know. That was fucking interesting. If you like Snyder and you like sci-fi shit, go look up Rebel Moon and see if it speaks to you.
Some of these screen caps are kind of cool, but I don't know. Oh, there's a griffin.
Yeah, that was just a very interesting, like out of left field thing at Gamescom opening.
Yeah, for Gamescom.
Right? AoE 4 on console. I might finally give that a shot.
I haven't tried it on the console yet, but it is a very good game on its own, so I'm sure it's probably good on the console too.
And it looked like the bit they showed obviously is obviously going to be the best parts, but like it looked pretty well. Looked pretty good, right? Like nice,
I like console RTSs.
Classic radial console menu for an RTS,
classic. Like especially probably pulling over some experience from Halo Wars since that's a Microsoft property as well.
Yeah, and then while we're talking about RTSs, we briefly touched on it earlier. Stormgate, is that what? Yes. Stormgate, I believe. Mm-hmm. That looks cool. I'm
worried about it.
Yeah?
Because it's free to play. Which means I feel like it's going to go the mobile game route. Not like be a mobile game, but just like that style of content is my worry.
That's fair. Well, particularly in like one of the things where like strategy, like not just real-time strategy, but just going higher level strategy mobile games suffer from is every single one uses the exact same system, which is get a currency, upgrade your units, and then not always, but then it's just like it's very frustrating then because you lose a game, for example, and you don't know, did I lose because they have a higher level unit than I did, or did I lose because they're better than me? And like it's just very frustrating paradigm in strategy games in particular. And so that is kind of sad. I didn't realize that was free to play. And maybe they're not doing that. I don't know. I'm curious enough. I'm going to look more into it because they specifically called out that their inspiration was the Blizzard RTSs, which are what I played.
Yeah, they're former Blizzard Activision devs like that are working on it.
Oh, so yeah, like, and that's what, and like it looked like it, right? Like I watched the little bit of the trailer with the new faction. I was like, this does give me Warcraft 3, StarCraft vibes, right?
Sure.
Like. And so I was very interested in that on the RTS note. And so I don't know. I'll look more into it and potentially play it. I have no idea if it's out or whatever. I literally just saw the trailer. I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. Yeah, you can pick back up and then you want to do 2 and then pass back to me and I'll do 2 and we'll just keep going like that until we hit everything.
So again, just in the order that I saw things, Destiny 2, the new expansion got some showcase stuff. Greg and Packy definitely already know my feelings on Destiny as a franchise. But for anybody else, I used to love Destiny. I still really think the gameplay is like top notch, best in the genre as far as like shooting and just like the way things feel. But I've been deeply disappointed with the aesthetics, the world building, and the story for a while now. And Final Shape is supposed to be the last part of the light and dark saga is what they call it, which is basically the entire Destiny story up to this point, of like the light being like the Traveler and the player characters, the Guardians, and all that stuff, humanity, versus the dark, which is like the big bad evil force out in the cosmos that brought Earth low and has killed trillions of other species and blah blah blah. Final Shape, I really don't give a shit because again, I mean I'll probably end up playing it and I'll spend the money and then be disappointed after like an hour, but that's my life. The things that I thought were interesting, Bungie said that they are ditching seasons, starting with Final Shape, I think is what they said, and they are moving to something that might actually Wait,
Good.
wait. They're calling them episodes, and they still sound like seasons, just shorter. So,
Excellent.
one hand, it'll be good because that it means that we're not getting like 4-month-long seasons, which means you have a month of new content and then 3 months of you just being in the same season after you've done everything, which I have definitely personally experienced before. So the episodes are supposed to be shorter, which means that there'll be more content refreshes, hopefully, which is cool. And that goes for the story also because they want, again, since they're going to be shorter, that the story should move along at a little bit of a quicker pace. And they also want the episodes to be more story focused overall. So that could be good. I don't know. We'll see. I would say that I trust Bungie, but I don't anymore. So I don't know. Beyond that, I think a new season, one of the last, I don't know if it's the last one or the second to last one, started today, or I guess yesterday, I don't know. Called Season of the Witch. If you care about Destiny lore at all, it's about reviving Savathun, who you killed in one of the last expansions, who was a big bad hive god, so you're reviving her again, and then you're going to turn a named character that's been on the human side for a long time into a hive god, maybe? So I don't know where the story's going. As a longtime fan, I wish it wasn't these things, but it is what it is. And then Final Shape is also going to add a new location where you get to go inside the Traveler, and it's going to be really nostalgic, they said. So the old version of the tower, the old hub space, will be inside the Pale Heart. Cade 6 is going to be inside the Pale Heart, even though he's dead, because it's a memory nostalgia generator. I don't know. I didn't write down a lot. I just thought
love me some Nathan Fillion.
Maybe we'll see. I think the most important thing is just like I said, that they're ditching seasons, because Destiny's been a very, very, very seasonal game for a long time now, and it's interesting that they're moving away from that. They said they were basing it on player feedback, because if anybody's kept up with Destiny in the last 6 months, the player feedback's not been good for Bungie. They did not do a good job with their last expansion and last couple seasons. So, yeah, that's Destiny. Oh, and Final Shape comes out in February, so I don't know. We'll see. The next thing I had. Go ahead, Greg.
Oh, I was gonna. I looked up Stormgate, which is not related to Destiny, but I'm gonna take my two. Sorry for interrupting you, but I'm taking my two because there's one is the thing we just talked about, and the other is tangentially related to Destiny. So Stormgate, I looked it up. They on their Steam page, they do explicitly say free to play. They do also explicitly say without ever paying to gain an advantage. So that is not necessarily promising though, because a lot of those things still let you upgrade your units with in-game currency that you can't purchase, and it's still the same problem of you can literally upgrade your units. So I don't know. We'll be very interested to see what happens when it comes out. There are some other interesting things on it. I'm still very interested in this game. They specifically I think are building it around co-op. They said, campaign missions can be played cooperatively, and the open-ended mode supports up to 3 players. Yeah, and then every good RTS needs, in my opinion. Not necessarily, but it specifically any good Blizzard-inspired RTS needs. They are, of course, having a map editor, and so they're aiming to support mini games and such. So very excited by Stormgate, actually. Again, that's just something I'd never heard of. It caught my eye, and so I'm going to follow this now. My tangentially related to Destiny thing, which is the most ridiculous tangential relation. I thought the Immortals of Avium trailer, because again, I was watching on my phone at my desk while working. And so at the moment I wasn't watching, I was just listening. And I hear, oh God, I can't remember her name, but I hear her voice and I'm like, oh, it's Destiny.
Is it Akora?
I don't.
It doesn't matter. Keep saying what you're saying.
The Warlock class trainer
Akora.
Who was in...
Yeah.
And she's obviously a normal actress. She's in Firefly. She's in Suits and stuff like that. She's a great actress and a great voice actress. But her character in Immortals of Avium sounds the exact same as her fucking character in Destiny.
Yeah, I believe that.
And I don't know, there's this thing that pops up every now and again whenever celebrities do, which I mean, she's not even Chris Pratt celebrity, right? But it's a similar train of thought of whenever celebrities do voice acting work, they're I don't need Mario to be the same as Star-Lord or whatever, right? That's just that Chris Pratt specific example. And like, I don't know, most of the time I'm just like, yeah, I don't really care if they do a good job, whatever. But yeah, then the fact that like it literally caught me off guard because also they modeled both characters off of her too, right? So they don't both just sound like her, they both look like her. And it's literally just like, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't reuse the same same
I
people
mean,
across so
to
many
say
different
Lance
games.
Reddick, sad that he's gone, but like anytime he was in a game, they always just like made that character Lance Reddick. Like Zavala
Which
does not
Lance
look like
Reddick's
Lance
so
Reddick.
good.
Oh, I know. But like in Horizon, that franchise, he plays a character named Silence, and it's literally Lance Reddick's body and face, and then his voice. That was just the character.
Mm. There was one of the games announced. I don't remember what it probably was announced. It was probably just one of the games shown. I can't remember which one it was, but it had if anybody has watched Supergirl on CW,
Nope, you're the only one.
I figured as much. But John Jones, the actor who played John Jones in that series, there's a character in one of the Gamescom things that is literally his voice, literally his face, his image, his likeness. That's the word, his exact likeness. So I don't know, like. I feel like in 5 years it's going to be even worse than it is now as like motion capture and stuff gets even better. Not motion capture, but like the facial mapping
Yeah.
specifically technology gets better. Like it's just going to be actors' faces in video games, which is fine until it's the same actor in like 3 games in the same year or something ridiculous like that. And you're just like, all right, it gets a little stale seeing the same person all the time, same voice, etc.
I mean, they're already there. They just choose not to. They specifically do it for Lance Reddick because he's really famous and very recognizable and I think distinct and fits in the roles. But like they do that for everyone, and they choose to change their faces because of that exact reason.
Yeah,
they don't.
For sure.
They want their character to be unique.
No, we need to give us every game needs to be like Bethesda, where it's 5 voice actors and they voice all 2,000 characters in the game. Just give me that, and that's fine. The next thing that I looked at, which was a new property, which at like first glance seemed interesting, it's called Dustborn. It is a quote single-player story-driven action-adventure game about hope, love, friendships, robots, and the power of words. And it's made by Quantic Dream. Or no, I'm sorry, not made by Quantic Dream. It's published by Quantic Dream, which they're the ones who made Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, any of those kind of games. I think David Cage is the guy's name that like is always run those games. But it's not developed by them, which I thought was interesting. They're publishing it, which I don't know if Quantic Dream has published anything else. So I just thought that was interesting. Specifically, it's developed by Red Thread Games, which, as far as I could see, he's only done like one other game, a 2019 mystery adventure game called Draugen. But yeah, Dustborn, it looks like a third-person like road trip game where you play as a character named Pax, who has the ability to like weaponize language, and so it's got obviously a lot of like character interaction, dialogue of like I guess think classic like RPG like persuasion and stuff of like convincing characters to do different things. I don't know, it looked interesting. And then the art style was, I thought, also interesting. It looked like, I'm sure you guys have seen any of the Telltale games, especially like The Walking Dead, but like any of their products all have that kind of like cel-shaded art style. Dustborn had a similar art style, which I thought was cool. Because you don't see a lot of that as much anymore. So, I don't know. The writing felt a little like, to me personally, a little cringy, but it might be cool. After that, I saw Diablo 4 is getting they revealed the new season, which starts in October, called Season of Blood. And the specific thing that I liked about this, because we talked about Diablo Immortal, we've talked about it a couple times, but they added that new class, the Vampire Knight, Blood Knight, I think is what it's called, or something like that.
Blood Knight, yep.
Yeah, so they're not adding the new class to 4, but they are adding, one, the season is like vampire focused, and there's a vampire hunter companion. And then the player is able to get like vampire like blood powers through, I guess, the seasonal content. So future, like looking ahead, maybe we will get the Blood Knight, which would be cool. I'd love to have a new class in that game. But
yeah, that'd be cool.
I don't know. I also like vampire content and a lot of stuff, especially like the like monstrous type of vampires. So I'm cool and like down for more of that within Diablo. So I don't know.
Speaking of new classes in ARPGs, have you heard of Last Epoch?
Yes,
Fucking
I
Last
think
Epoch.
I own it. I'm pretty sure I played it for a little bit before Diablo 4 came out to fill the gap. I didn't play a lot of it though. Yeah, I had it.
Which, so for those who don't know, Last Epoch is there are a couple things that caught my eye about it. One, I love ARPGs. I just like they're a genre that like they scratch an itch for me. I enjoy most of them. And so it is an ARPG, similar vein to Diablo, Torchlight, Minecraft Dungeons, whatever
Path of
your
Exile.
fancy is. Oh, duh! Oh my God, dude! Which also is like getting a huge update, or no, it's getting a sequel
It's
this
getting a
year, right? Path
sequel.
of Exile
Yeah.
2. Yeah, so that'll be interesting. But Last Epoch caught my attention for a couple reasons. One, it looked pretty all right. Then obviously they mentioned a new class and they said, like, oh, it's like you pick a skill and then like each skill has like its own very deep skill tree, which I don't know. Like I have mixed feelings about. Like one, it looks cool and like looks like there's like a bunch of options and stuff, but also like I'm a real fucking basic ass bitch, and sometimes I like the simple stuff. Like a lot of people complain on the Switch from like Diablo 2 to 3 because like um just the skill trees were simpler in 3, and honestly I kind of liked it better. Like because I'm a basic bitch. Um but the thing that really caught my attention, and this is probably like I don't know how true it is, but like they just described it as like like I mean everybody describes it like it's I don't know how true it actually is, but they described it as like a community built or like community driven game, like and again everybody says because they want to say, oh, we listen to player feedback, but like the impression I got, and maybe this is completely wrong, is that like it started out genuinely as like some dude being like, "Hey, who wants to make an ARPG with me?" And then like literally like found random people on the internet, and then like through that process has just like had a bunch of random people help contribute to the game, even if it's not the engine or whatever else. Maybe it's just designing some spells or something like that. You know, and again, no idea how accurate that is, but it sounded cool, and I was like, "Cool." That's what I got in terms of ARPGs. So back to you.
Next game is actually something that I do care about. I haven't played a lot of the old ones, but I really enjoyed what I did play. We're getting another Killing Floor game. Don't know if you guys ever played the Killing Floor games.
Yeah,
they're very fun,
they're
like
goofy
co-op
fun. Yeah,
horde shooters. Vaguely Left 4 Dead, but without it being like a linear level that you progress through. It's just like an area that you fight in. But yeah, we're getting Killing Floor 3. I thought it was cool that it's the same dev team, because I feel like that's definitely a franchise that on paper possibly could have been handed off to somebody else. It's that kind of thing sometimes, like a small enough franchise but with enough support that they could have just handed it off. But yeah, same dev team, Tripwire, and no release date. It was just a cinematic trailer, but I mean, I really enjoyed Killing Floor 1 and 2, so it's cool we're getting another one. I'm sure it'll be good. After that was a game that, I'll be honest, I don't remember when it got announced. I remember like really being interested in the trailer. Nightingale, which was that like Victorian Fey gaslight steampunky survival game that got announced sometime earlier this year, I want to say. Had a really interesting trailer with people like floating down on like umbrellas and stuff. It looked kind of goofy, but like it was very unique in what it looked like.
is this the full blown survival crafting game?
Yeah,
right?
it's a shared world survival game is what they're calling it. And they put out one, they got the release date, and then put another trailer. I think it looks really cool. The like enemy designs and stuff look a lot like the Loathsome and Remnant, very like Fey Victorian eras. Like that's cool, just like visual design. And specifically, it looks interesting because they showed a brief clip of it and then talked, like the narrator in the trailer talked about it. But it looks like you either gather or craft like realm cards, and then you put those in like a machine or something, and that generates a portal. And the cards all have like different biomes or effects, and then when you put it in the machine and it generates the portal, it'll take you to a world generated based on those cards. I don't know how big, like
in a way, almost No Man's Sky, but not really. It's like a.
Where do you see No Man's Sky in that? I'm interested to hear that.
In the world aspect of it, right? Like, and again, because they mentioned this, they call it shared world,
Okay.
thing. Like, and so I don't know. I mean, like, ignore me because I was barely paying attention to this plan and the thing. But like, I don't know, just the shared world combined
Yeah,
with the, like you talked about, like I couldn't tell which you were about to say, and sorry I cut you off, was you don't know how many basically configurations
yeah, I was
is
gonna
I'm
say
assuming what
that,
you're gonna
and
say.
like how big the
Yeah.
worlds that you generate will be, because like shared world to me implies like it'll be a big space, right? Like obviously, like you said, No Man's Sky, that is a good point. But I don't know if there's going to be like an overworld that you can always explore in, and then you can also do like the realm travel to go to these like shards, like these individual spaces, or if it's all going to be that. I don't know. But I liked the aesthetics. It seems like a cool concept. So early access in February. So I don't know. We'll see.
One of the things that caught my eye about it was, and you already briefly touched on it, was you mentioned like the enemy design, but you
Yeah,
were talking about like literally the art style design of it.
yeah,
But the thing that caught my eye was the like combat, I guess, actually looked pretty interesting and fun, right? Like I feel like it's really easy to have a, which they also showed some building, right? They showed like the crafting part of
yeah,
this, like the building of a town thing. Um, and like it's really easy to focus on that in a game, in this type of game. But it seemed like the rest of it, the survival part of it, the combat, the exploring, the like actually fighting these enemies, also looked interesting and looked pretty fun. That was what really caught my eye. Because yeah, again, that's something that's like very hit or miss in these type of games, right? Like I
yeah.
feel like
Can be.
oftentimes the combat's either really janky or just really basic or somewhere in between, right? So that's what I'm most excited for about it.
Yeah, it definitely looked. If nothing else, it looked, like I said, interesting. So definitely curious to see how that turns out. Next one that I had on my list was the Cyberpunk 2077 expansion slash 2.0 update. And as I'm sure I've told you guys before, that is the single most disappointed in a game I have ever been with Cyberpunk 2077. I was extremely, extremely, extremely excited, and I played it, and I've played it multiple times since. I basically play like once every update just to see if it's finally what I want, and it has not been so far. The things they're talking about in the expansion slash 2.0 update are going to bring me back to try it one more time, and then I feel like if I don't like it that point, I'm just not going to play it anymore. But we'll see.
That's
But yeah, the
that's fair.
expansion is called Phantom Liberty, and they have not said what things they've shown off are part of the expansion and which parts are part of the update. But we've all played games long enough; we can probably guesstimate which parts will be which. So we're just going to run through the list real quick and give my thoughts. So they're adding a bunch of new items, weapons, clothes, stuff like that, just like basic stuff that any RPG has. Updated cyberware. So Cyberpunk is obviously a cyberpunk game, so it's all about like augmenting your character with different like mechanical systems. So like you'll get blade arms or the ability to jump further because you got like new robotic legs, or there's all the like net running stuff where you can hack into computers and all that stuff. From what it looked like they were suggesting with like the updated cyberware is that like the system, which before was just like you filled slots with like the different, it basically just equipped them like you would like equip like armor in another game. It looked a little different, but they didn't really like say exactly what was different about it, so I couldn't tell for sure what the exact difference was. They're probably also going to make stuff just like more varied and more like unique, if I had to guess, just to like make each item actually like worthwhile for equipping. The perk tree is going to get redesigned, which I did see like in the trailer they showed that off a little bit. But again, they haven't like outright said exactly what all these things are, but from the trailer, it looks like the perks are all going to be, there's going to be less of them in the sense that like you're not going to be able to put like 5 points into a single perk slot to get like an incremental stat increase, and they're all going to be like, it looks like they're going to be more like meaningful, which I'm definitely here for, because in the base game for Cyberpunk, it definitely was a lot of like the Skyrim other RPG style where you put 3 points into something and you've got like a 9% stat boost, each point being like 3%, which like, yeah, that's great, but like, I feel like Cyberpunk definitely lends itself well to being like meaningful choices and like meaningful impact of like perks and stuff. So like that seems like it might be cool, if that's actually how it works. They're adding a new relic skill tree, which looks like it's going to be more perks, but they looked like they were going to be very powerful like active perks. So instead of like passive effects, you'd be able to activate something cool. I think one of the things they showed off was like a like super far jump, leap, like lunge ability. I think another one was like a teleportation thing or something. I don't know. Again, just from the trailer, no idea. New vehicles and new vehicle combat are new, and hopefully those will get added in the update. but the vehicles in Cyberpunk like are well modeled and stuff, but like driving kind of sucks, and there's not really anything to do while you're driving. So like you get cars, but like you don't do anything with them other than just drive around, and that's it. Which I know sounds like, yeah, of course that's all you do. That's what vehicles are for. But I don't know, they just feel very static, if that makes any sense. There's no like dynamicness to them, which at least in the lead up to Cyberpunk, they definitely made it seem like everything was going to have dynamic elements to it. And like you can shoot out of the vehicles in the base game already, I'm pretty sure, but like there's nothing to shoot at because nothing happens. So like there's a weird system.
Yeah, it sounded like they're going the like the fucking almost GTA Need for Speed like police route, right? Like you have the police.
So that's the other thing I was going to talk about too. But yeah, for like the vehicles specifically, there's going to be like mounted weapons on vehicles. So think like James Bond cars with like guns already attached to them that you can shoot and stuff. And then you can also like obviously do all the shooting out of vehicles, but there'll be more use for that mechanic, which is cool. It's going to be a new city district added to Night City, so I'm sure that'll be in the expansion specifically. Speaking on the police system that Greg just mentioned, in the base game, the police are terrible. They spawn in front of you, so like you'll see them spawn in. Like they don't come from even off screen, and you could like imagine that they came from like a police garage or something. It's awful. They don't really chase you. There's a wanted system, but there's no point. Like there's nothing to it. It's so shallow and so bare bones and so unlike CD Projekt Red to be like so half-assed. Like it's bad. So that's a bit of a big thing the community has been pushing for, to make it more like a GTA style system where like, you know, having a wanted level actually like vaguely means something. And like I personally, I know like that police are always going to just spawn in, but they should at least spawn in out of sight so you don't literally see the like barest frame of the game holding it together. The new police system is supposed to again fix that. So like it's supposed to be more dynamic. As you go up the wanted levels, there's going to be like more engagement with like the different like tiers of police. So like there's just like the basic street cops, and then there's like the like SWAT team, and then in that universe there's the group called Max Tech, which is like the counter cybernetic like super police. They drop out of like a big floating gunship, and they're all like augmented out, and they're super powerful. You see them very early on in the Cyberpunk story as like a way to show, you know, it's just like you're exploring the world, and like in the story mission they are like a scripted encounter with them, and like they're shown to be very strong and very scary. And it looks like they'll be like integrated into the wanted system, which, you know, could be cool. New story missions, of course, to tie with the expansion. They said that they're going to have a new dynamic event and mission system, so I'm guessing that's going to be like the Bethesda-style Radiant quests, which, even if they're shallow on themselves, it'll give more life to the world, hopefully, because you'll always have stuff to do, which I think that game definitely needs. Me personally, at least. Raised level cap, of course, to coincide with all the new perks and stuff. And then they said combat AI overhaul. I don't know what that's going to entail. I found the combat in the game to be, again, a lot of the game just feels very static. Like, enemies just kind of stand there sometimes and just take the bullets and die. Like, there's no, like as an example, Greg, you and I have played a lot of The Division. As you go into The Division, like, the base level enemies you fight in the beginning of the game just do kind of stand there and just take hits. But then as you go on and you start fighting like Black Tusk towards the end of the game, which are like the elite mercenary group that's like the end game faction, they have a lot more tactics they do. They like use cover, obviously, they'll flank you, they use their abilities really well, they've got all the drones they use. So I think Cyberpunk definitely needs something like that, where the enemies actually are like competitive with the player in terms of tactics and abilities that you can do. I mean, obviously, like, they're augmented out with cyberware too, so like, why don't they use their stuff as much? You know, just having them stand there and be bullet sponges is again just, I don't know, it just does not feel like CD Projekt Red. Like, I've played a decent amount of the Witcher games, and like, obviously the enemies in that game all just kind of like take hits too, but usually they're monsters and they have different tactics they'll try, and you know, so Cyberpunk definitely needs more of just that like lived-in world dynamicness, which it sounds like Phantom Liberty, the expansion, and the 2.0 update are supposed to be bringing. I hope for their sake and for mine that it does. I don't know. It's looking better, at least based on the trailer and the information they provided.
Are you going to try 2.0 and then if you like it, buy Phantom Liberty? Or are you going to be
knowing me,
crazy
no,
person
and I will
buy
not
first?
buy straight into Phantom Liberty. Okay. I will try 2.0 first. Phantom Liberty does have Idris Elba, though, back to our point about actors.
That's true. Yeah, no, I that caught my eye too. I'm excited for it. Specifically 2.0. Obviously not going to buy a thing because I bought the game like a long fucking time ago and never played it.
Yep. Bought it a
$10 at Best Buy one time, baby. And then obviously I was texting you all the other day. It's like, oh, should I play this or GTA? And we were like, no, let's wait till 2.0, right? It's coming.
Yeah,
It's coming soon. Just wait. Yeah. And so gonna continue waiting. But the thing that caught my attention most actually is 2.0 and Phantom Liberty, specifically 2.0, which is what really caught my attention. Only on current gen consoles and PC.
Which also gives me hope that it may actually be decent.
Yep.
I saw that too.
That is I'm so glad they called that out and mentioned it. And I'm so glad the last gen of consoles is finally fucking dying. And so that gives me a fair bit of, again, like you mentioned, a little bit of optimism that
for sure.
So
I know CD Projekt Red is like competent. That's the thing that bums me out about Cyberpunk is like they are or were and like a competent studio. Witcher 3, I love Witcher 3, and the expansions are great. I played the old Witcher games. Like they know what they're doing. They just really seem to stumble with Cyberpunk.
So let's see. Brief note to the Crew Motorfest. The only reason I'm mentioning it, they have a 5-hour trial on every platform, and so I will do that.
That's interesting.
Because the Crew is one of those games that, like, I don't love driving games, but I enjoy them. But every time I look at the Crew, I'm like, but Forza Horizon instead.
Yeah.
And so, 5-hour free trial for Crew Motorfest. I will probably give that a go and see what it's like.
I think it's interesting that as a series, they moved away from the thing that made them unique, or one of the things that made them unique, with like them having the entire US simulated roughly, right? And now Motorfest is going to be a single location, like the Forza games do, where it's Mexico or whatever instead of it's an interesting choice. I wish them the best, but it's an interesting decision.
I agree. I want them to be successful. They've always looked interesting, specifically for exactly what you said, which I hadn't paid enough attention to Motorfest, and I'm not gonna lie, that makes me a lot less interested because the reason I was interested in Crew 1 and 2 was because of, like you said,
it visually looks really good. It looks as good as the Forza games have looked lately from like the brief stuff I've seen. But I mean, like you said, why do that when you can for sure play Forza and you know it's going to be quality? So I don't know.
I was gonna say, like, Forza 3, 4, and 5 are like just extremely well made, polished games. You cannot go wrong. Like if you want an arcade driving game, go play Forza 3, 4, or 5. Like they're fantastic.
You can also play them as simulator games. 5 has a ton of simulator options if you wanted to. It's crazy.
That's true, but like we got Forza Motorsport coming out this year. If you're really looking for that, that'll take the sim up, to the next level. So we've got at least, I'm looking at the list, we've got at least 2 things that I know you're going to talk about. So take it away.
So you might be surprised because I'm pretty much at the end of my heavy hitter games, and I just wrote down a bunch of smaller things just to talk about.
Big ones that you haven't touched on.
Well, let me get through these real quick because these are quick, and then we can surprise me with what I forgot. I just thought it was cool that we're getting a new game from the Entitled Goose Game dev, which I don't know if you guys ever played that game. It was very cute and fun and just an interesting little game. We're getting Endzone 2, which Endzone was in my opinion, very subpar post-apocalyptic city builder published by Paradox. I don't know why we're getting a sequel. It doesn't seem like that needed a sequel, but we're getting one. It's probably going to be subpar also. Bulletstorm VR, which I think that's an interesting thing to bring back from the dead for a VR port, but hey, whatever. Little Nightmares 3 is cool. We're getting another Little Nightmares game. Those games are cool. I thought it was cool that Tekken 8 got a release date, and it's not coming out this year. It's coming out early next year, which I was expecting this year to be we were going to get all 3 big fighting game franchises in 1 year, but it's barely missing it. Just barely missing it. But still, looks good. I know Jacob is very excited, being my personal resident fighting game expert. And then this last thing, I clicked it without knowing what it was and watched the gameplay trailer, and I was literally like, what the hell is this? How does it have this much in it? And I'm sure it's going to have none of it on release. It was just a gameplay trailer. But did you all see, I'm sure Packy didn't because I know he was busy, but did you all see Crimson Desert?
That was one of the ones I definitely on in the background for me.
So right? You need to go
technically watched it. But I can't
watch the gameplay trailer and look at all the things that they are suggesting that game will have. It looks absolutely insane, and on the 2% chance they can pull it off, it looks like it'll be really, really cool. But just to run through it real quick, this one was supposed to be like a small note in my like extras, and I ended up writing a bunch about it because I was just like, literally, what am I watching? So there's a company called Pearl Abyss, which is a South Korean dev team with offices like around the world. They're pretty big, I guess. I'd say they're probably like most well-known thing they've made is an MMO that I see pop up on Steam all the time, and on the PlayStation Store all the time, and on the Xbox Store, like all the different stores all the time, called Black Desert, which is a extremely good-looking MMO visually, but I've heard that it is a massive like time sink, and it's an MMO basically, right? But like a very like Asian,
I think it's
Eastern
on
style
the
MMO.
bad in the time sink.
Yes, I've heard that it
things,
is
right,
very much that, but it is visually a very impressive looking game. Like it's very pretty looking. So Crimson Desert is using the same engine, it looks like, but it's single player. And I guess it was, I didn't even remember that it was announced. It was announced a while ago, and then everybody just thought it was abandoned because like nothing had come out about it. And then Pearl Abyss just put out this trailer for Gamescom. It looks like it like visually looks like a combination of The Witcher 3's like art style and Red Dead 1 and 2's art style, and like some of the mechanics. So it's a fantasy open world single player game. You play as like a lone mercenary, traveling this world. I would recommend, if you're at all interested, for like our 2 listeners or just for you guys specifically, go watch the gameplay trailer.
We had 13 listens on the last episode.
That's amazing. I love it. Specifically,
I don't
the
know where
trailer
they're coming from.
Is the busiest, most feature-dense trailer I think I've ever seen in a game. It shows off so many mechanics that they're saying are going to be in the game. There is, like, obviously all the melee combat you'd expect from a fantasy single-player game. So, like, sword fighting and dueling and all that stuff. There's these big battlefields where your character is, like, riding around and, like, jumping off his horse and, like, cutting up, like, medieval-style infantry and, like, toppling siege towers, and there's like full destruction mechanics on these buildings and these siege towers and like these wooden structures. There's archery, the horse-mounted combat, there's magic systems, there's fishing. I saw the character like get teleported into the sky and literally like hot drop onto like a castle, and the castle was shooting up like aerial mines to stop the character from landing. There's like monster hunting, so it showed like the character going into a town and pulling stuff off of a notice board. Specifically, the quest he like pulled off was to like go retrieve some animals, like some lost sheep or something. So you like walk around and actually like pick up the sheep and take them back to the town.
Yeah, I saw. I'm watching it out. I just saw it.
There's
so
like
cute.
the actual monster hunting and crafting, and there's so much they showed off in this gameplay trailer. And again, I have no idea what's actually going to get pulled over. A lot of it looks like very much vertical, like slice of all the content in the game, just to give like people an idea of what's in it. So there's a good chance that like a lot of it doesn't make it in. I have no idea, but it also like looks really good, and I don't know. I generally don't trust games made beyond like the US, Europe, and like Japan, because like they're just usually not. They're just smaller markets for like what I'm into, obviously. But like, if they can pull this off and it's not a nightmare, I don't know. It looks really cool, just from the trailer. But very, very, very.
It really
busy.
does, yeah.
I just have no idea what to expect from it, and my expectations are going to be very low, just because I know it's probably not going to be great. But it's a very interesting trailer.
It screams cult following. Like this is going to be one of those games
like
that years from now, people are going to be like, the combat, the gameplay was amazing.
Like they're like climbing monsters and stuff. He's climbing trees and stuff. I don't know.
But the story for this game is
pole vaults
suck.
over a fence.
Yeah, fucking pole vaults the like palisade wall. I don't.
Yeah.
No idea. It looks really cool. Expectations low because it looks like a lot. So I don't know.
It looks like too much. It looks like too
much, but I'm here for it.
I agree.
All right. One last thing. I don't think it's related to Gamescom, but I saw it during all of this. You all know the Immortals Phoenix Rising game, the very Breath of the Wild Greek mythology open world game. I know, Greg, I think you've played it probably more than any. Like, I know for me, for sure. I only played a little bit.
I think I gave it like 10 hours-ish.
Hey, I gave it like 30 minutes, so that's great. there was a sequel in the works, and Ubisoft canned it, but what it was going to be sounded really, really interesting, and I just thought it was cool. Like, it's not going to happen because it got canceled, but I just thought it was cool to mention like what they had an idea for. They described it as a Polynesian like mythology Elden Ring. So it was going to be darker in tone, super, super big, way more like boss fights and stuff, but with the Polynesian myths as the backdrop. It was going to have a lot of environmental interaction, like volcanoes and ocean and wind and weather manipulation and stuff. It got canceled, so it doesn't matter. But I just thought, I was like, that's really cool. And apparently Ubisoft was like, this is not what we want from games, and they canned it. So, I don't know.
That's a shame.
Go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Well, you see, they had to make up the money because they're buying all the Activision Blizzard cloud streaming rights off of Microsoft. They had to make up that money somewhere, and so Immortal Phoenix Rising 2 got canned. It's a fucking bummer. Because I agree that does sound really cool, actually. I was going to mention Warhaven, but it's not exciting. It's just a cinematic trailer. But it did look kind of interesting. It's actually interesting. Why is it just the cinematic trailer when the game's coming out on September 21st? Like, that's interesting.
It's a good question.
Was that the end of your notes? And can I mention the two that I'm surprised you didn't mention?
Yeah, no, talk about whatever.
So one is, you probably didn't mention it because you're going to talk about it all next week, and it wasn't really anything new. Obviously, Armored Core Fires
got good reviews.
They had
it's got good reviews already.
Yeah.
Not great, but good.
And so there's another trailer for that from Gamescom, so I'm surprised you didn't at least give that a shout out. And then Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, I didn't write it down. I definitely watched stuff, but I watched it like 5 hours later after I did my notes, so I didn't write anything down. But it does look really good. Like, really, really good.
Yeah. That's exactly. That's why I'm surprised you didn't shout it out.
Because I didn't write it down.
And then there are some other miscellaneous things. I don't know, Marvel Snap's getting a PC release, which is cool. Oh, Fort Solace. We didn't touch on this, because I don't know what the fuck's going on.
I don't know anything about it.
What the fuck it is.
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, neither do I.
Apparently it's like
I think this might have been the thing that had the actor... interesting. Did they show... They had to have shown this from us. So I don't know. Yeah, it's a thing.
I think
that's...
did a gameplay overview of it or something.
That makes sense. It's got Troy Baker in it.
Love Troy. It does have Troy. That's right.
Yeah. But so I think, that probably wraps it up for me. I briefly touched on it, and we touched on it a little bit before. I am excited for Immortals Vavium, the Magic FPS game.
They got it.
Excited with tempered expectations. Yeah. Exactly. Like, I think it'll be fun. I don't know. Bingo. Because it's from EA, so it'll be part of EA Access, therefore part of Game Pass Ultimate at some point. Because it looks fun. It doesn't necessarily look great, but it looks fun. And then I thought it was kind of cool that they did the Assassin's Creed Mirage trailer in Arabic. I thought that was a nice touch. Yeah. And then Ice-T promoting Payday 3. That's fucking hilarious. I have no interest in Payday at all, but
I liked Payday 2 a lot. It was a very janky game, but it was fun.
You all were saying, the heists in GTA 6 are good. And I'm wondering if maybe then, like, Payday would scratch that itch. Right? Because it's literally just heists.
No,
not the same.
If you go back and play Payday 2 now, you're going to be very frustrated. Do not. It's from a different era.
I would be clear. Zero interest in playing Payday 2.
Don't do it.
1% interested in Payday 3. So I think that wraps it up for us here at Jetpack Swords. And
weird. Sorry.
No, if you have final notes, feel free to pitch in.
It was shown off today. There wasn't like a trailer that I saw or anything, but Space Marine 2 got a preview, and it sounds like it's going to be very good. And I thought it was really cool. Space Marine 2 is using the same engine, it sounds like, as World War Z, the like Left 4 Dead like horde shooter. Which I don't know if you guys have played World War Z.
That game, I did. I liked it. It's a
really good. I have personal issues with the like property itself, but the game is very good in the way the zombies like mechanically stack up on each other, which they like mimicked from the movie. But like that happening in gameplay is really cool. And Space Marine 2 sounds like it's going to use that for the Tyranids, which are like the Warhammer, or it's what the Zerg are based off of, because the Tyranids are older. But yeah, Eternians are big, like, swarming insects and stuff. So yeah,
That'll
it's
be really
cool
cool.
that they're using that for that. I don't know. I love Space Marine. I'm very excited for Space Marine too.
Well, and I like when tech can be reused. It's always nice to
Yeah,
see,
for like appropriate areas. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to episode 49 question mark of
No idea.
Jetpack Swords, where we talked about Gamescom 2023. I will probably not be here next week, but your other two co-hosts, James and Packy, will be. And if am I correct, you guys are just gonna balls deep on some Armored Core. Is that correct?
Gonna try to.
So yeah, listen to the next one if you are interested in Armored Core, and then it'll probably be the first one I edit in a while because I won't be in it, and so I will be interested to hear what you all have to say anyways. So I'll do the editing myself instead of running it through a thing or passing it off to Susie. Yeah, thanks everybody for listening, and catch James and Packy next week, and then I'll be back the one after, and adios.